Serve me in Japanese?
Ilara Wynn said every syllable polished like glass. $200,000 if you can. The VIP room at the Aurelia Grand sealed out the gala's noise. 3 Japanese investors waited in a hush of carpet and pale light. The hotel manager, Mr. Donovan, stood with a leather folio and a practiced calm. Graham Ford balanced a tray in one hand, the kind of man you forget until something requires noticing. White shirt, rolled sleeves, a steady way of moving that refused to waste motion. He set down a pot of sencha and aligned the spout with the nearest cup. Donovan spoke before the silence grew teeth. Ground rules. Staff participates only by choice. No cash. If this is a pledge, it's by wire or escrow and documented. 15 minutes maximum. Logged as a private cultural demonstration tied to a charitable donation. He turned to Graham. You're under no obligation. Ilara didn't sit. The failed demo of her company's AI project Echo still rang in her posture, a misread of Keigo, a stumble that had landed like a dropped glass. It isn't a stunt, she said. It's a fair challenge. Funds to a language program if he accepts. She lifted her phone. Marla, wire authorization. Release upon completion. Yes, send email confirmation to Mr. Donovan and our guests. Hiroshi adjusted his glasses. Kenji watched without blinking. Sato folded his hands. They had flown too far to watch a circus. They wanted competence and respect. The email landed. Donovan checked his tablet and nodded. Authorization in. Graham looked at the investors, not at the money that wasn't in the room. What would count as serving? Sir Kenji answered lightly. Describe items as a good server would with appropriate honorifics and register. You may choose the dishes. Hiroshi added pronunciation, pacing, and restraint. Sato's voice was soft. Please, no spectacle. Graham poured the tea. He let the cup fill pause and top in one unbroken line. Then he turned slightly toward Ilara and spoke in Japanese, unhurried, precise, brushed with the care of someone who had learned to carry meaning with his mouth. It wasn't merely fluent. It sounded lived in, a greeting, an apology for any trouble, a request for the honor of describing what was already before them, if that would bring ease to the table. He placed weight on syllables that should hold weight and took it off where humility belongs. He lowered his tone at the end of the honorific like a hand easing a door shut. Ilara's fingers tightened on the back of her chair. She did not recognize the sentence so much as the cadence inside it. Kenji's eyes softened. Hiroshi simply listened. Sato allowed himself half a smile. Graham continued still in Japanese. こちらは検査でございます。香りは柔らかく口当たりはすっきりしております。Then, as a server to honored guests, if it pleases you, I can describe small plates from 3 regions, Kansai, Kanto, and Kyushu, each in the register most respectful to the relationship at this table. Kenji tested him. And if that relationship shifts? In language, Graham replied, equality is a feeling before it's grammar. You acknowledge it with the eyes. Sometimes you never lower the honorifics. You simply take the stiffness out of their joints. Donovan's stylus paused. He wasn't writing. He was listening. Begin, Ilara said quieter. He began with Kansai. Warm, cadence, bright citrus. He kept the honorifics formal without turning them into theater. For Kanto, he clipped the bows by a breath as if the guest had signaled familiarity. In Kyushu, he let an island wind into the vowels and touched hard consonants, gently modeling respect that didn't creak. Hiroshi murmured, Yinga Yungi. The sound is good. Sato asked in Japanese how he would handle a guest who demanded to be treated as an equal when protocol required formality. Graham gave the same sentence 3 ways, moving the bow from the words to the tone, then to the eyes. Kenji's mouth lifted. He is not only pronouncing, he is placing. Minutes moved in clean lines. Donovan called the 5-minute mark. The tea cooled. The room did not. When Graham stopped, he bowed the exact depth appropriate to the distance between him and the table and stepped back to the cart. No flourish, just readiness to serve. Donovan checked the tablet. Time. Per the pledge, funds will be released to escrow. He read the confirmation and tapped it into the service log completed. Voluntary. No incident. Ilara's posture had changed in some subtle, private way. She pulled out a chair and sat. The steel remained, but its edges had learned not to cut. "Thank you, Mr. Ford." She searched for a truthful word. That was disciplined. "You set the terms," Graham said. "I accepted them." Hiroshi offered a small bow. "Your register was exact. Your restraint more exact." Zato glanced at Ilara. "If your product hopes to honor people, this is the honoring it must notice." A shadow crossed her expression, not offense, something like the ache of a standard you thought you had already met. "We're getting there," she said. "Tonight wasn't our best proof." Kenji folded his napkin. "Machines walk straight lines," he said. "People take the curve." Donovan touched Graham's shoulder and almost contact. Back of house in 2, he murmured, "Then to the room, dessert can be brought in, or we can close the evening." "Dessert can wait," Ilara said. She looked at Graham now as if the distance between title and name could be crossed without a bridge. "Would you agree to a brief professional review tomorrow morning? No audience, no spectacle, Donovan present." 10 minutes. Documented the same way. The donation stands regardless. Graham considered. Not long, not performative. With clear boundaries, he said, and with the same documentation. "Documented," Donovan replied. 15 minutes maximum. 10. Ilara said, almost smiling at her own correction. 10 is enough. Graham poured more tea to hide the way his hand did not shake. The city pushed a grin of light across the carpet. Beyond the door, music swelled. Inside, the investors spoke softly with the relief of people who had been offered craft instead of noise. As he returned the pot to its warmer, Graham looked up reflexively. Ilara was already watching him, not as a CEO watches a contractor, but as a person listens for a sound they thought they had lost. He looked away first. "Good night, Ms. Wynne," he said. "We'll keep it professional tomorrow." "We will," she said. Donovan closed his folio with a soft click, the sound of a storm finishing without a broken plate. The door opened. The gala's breath returned. The quiet they left behind had a different shape than the quiet they'd found. "You're right, the previous WC line was off." Here is a tightened Chapter 2 recounted with the same method as Chapter 1, white space separated words. Hyphenated forms count as 1. Chars exclude spaces, new lines. "I need your consent in writing," Mr. Ford Donovan said, keeping his voice level in the quiet corridor. "Consent first, curiosity second." Graham nodded. Steam and citrus polish drifted from the service hall. Somewhere behind the walls, a piano tried a phrase and let it go. Donovan opened his folio and angled a tablet toward him. "This confirms what happened was voluntary," Donovan read. "No cash involved. The pledge is an escrow. Tomorrow's follow-up, only if you agree, will be private, recorded with your consent 10 minutes, and I'll be in the room. You can stop it any time. And if it turns into entertainment," Graham asked. "I pull the plug," Donovan said. "Dignity doesn't clock in with a tray." Graham signed with a finger. "Then we're aligned." "Get home to your girl," Donovan said, sliding the tablet away. "Text me in the morning if anything feels off." Back in the VIP room, the tea had cooled to quiet. The 3 investors spoke in low, careful tones, the polite music of people who prefer a clean exit to applause. Marla Ilara's CFO stepped in with her phone. "Wire staged in escrow. Confirmation emailed to the hotel and to you." She studied Ilara's face. "Do you want PR on standby?" "Eliminate the word damage," Ilara said. "No statements until there's something worth saying." Sato stood first and bowed. "We appreciate the privacy," he said. "Honor begins with how a table is set." "It will be set correctly tomorrow," Ilara replied. Hiroshi adjusted his glasses. "If your product hopes to listen, It must learn to stand still. Humans set the meaning. Machines follow. When they left, Ilara crossed to the sideboard to collect her things. Near a folded napkin lay a child's drawing markers pressed hard colors unashamed. A man with a tray drawn like a knight and a small figure with starburst hair. In block letters for my dad who always listens. Ilara slid the paper into her bag as if it might bruise. The city held its breath against the glass when Graham unlocked his apartment. A pink paper crown waited on the counter Lily's kingdom of yesterday. Dad, she called, small and brave. Hey, bird. He knelt by her bed. Fever had tinted her cheeks, but her eyes were clear. How's the adventure? I tried to wait with my eyes open, she whispered. You did great. He checked her temperature with the back of his hand. Warm, not worrying. He counted medicine drops like a magician counting coins, then offered water. On the shelf, the old box sat where he had left it. Diplomatic lanyards, a soft-cornered passport and ID with a younger man's stare. He lifted a photo June in a straw hat at a street market, sunlight netted across her shoulders. Something in him went still and righted itself. We're okay, he said into the quiet. We do the brave things slowly. He wrote himself a compass on an index card, clear boundaries. 10 minutes, professional, no ad hoc tests, documented, stop on signal. He slid it into his pocket. Lily shuffled to the doorway with a blanket cape. Did you like the picture? You drew a knight, he asked. It's you, she said matter-of-fact. But you have a tray. She yawned. Knights serve people, too. That's the job description. He smiled, and it hurt in a clean way. She hugged his waist and said, Don't let the mean people make you small. I won't, he said, sealing it like a promise into metal. He tucked her in, hummed the tune that steadied the room, and texted Donovan agree to 10 minutes. Same ground rules. Stop on signal. The reply landed fast. Logged. 8:30 a.m. Private conference. I'll be there. Rest. Ilara's car took the long, quiet way home. Compliance had sent requests, add a timestamp to the recording. Have counsel review the consent language. Use demonstration, not challenge. Approved. Approved, she typed. Change the noun. She let the screen go black and stood in her kitchen with both hands on the counter until the stone cooled her pulse. Designer, quiet. Sometimes cruel. She unfolded the drawing on the table. Marker lines held the stubborn faith of 7 years old, who always listens. She heard her father the way you hear rain before it touches anything. Listen first. The rest will tell you what it wants to be. She made a list on a legal pad. 10 minutes. Private room. Donovan present. Documented consent. Evaluation rubric phonetics, honorifics, pragmatics, cultural context. No ad hoc tasks. No audience. Donation stands regardless. Language professional. Tone human. Marla texted a holding line. Private cultural demonstration concluded. Donation routed to Community Language Fund. No further comment. Hold Ilar wrote back. No statement. We don't talk about listening. We do it. She carried the drawing to her office and slipped it beside an index card she almost never touched her father's handwriting in careful ink. 2 lines. Enough to steady a life if you let them. She breathed until the room remembered how to be simple. Her phone buzzed again. Donovan, Mr. Ford, confirmed. Consent and rubric will be ready. 8:30. Thank you, Sean, she typed, then added, log my responsibility to apologize if boundaries slip. 3 dots. Logged. At 7:10 a.m., Graham woke to a cooler lily and lavender daylight at the edge of the blinds. He made oatmeal cut a strawberry into a star. There are economies where that is the right kind of luxury, and left a note for the neighbor who covered school runs on early shifts. She's better. Call if she's tired. He put on a clean shirt, checked his pocket for the compass card, and listened to the apartment breathe before he locked the door. At 8:22, he reached the staff entrance. Donovan waited with 2 coffees and tidy stacks of paper. Morning. I named the meeting Private Cultural Review. We keep logs for the things worth repeating. Good logs make good habits, Graham said, taking the coffee. And if I say stop, it stops, Donovan said. Not later. Not after one more thing. The second you say it. That's the only way this works. They walked to a small conference room, white walls, round table camera fixed to witness without intruding. No pageantry. Just a place where words could be set down like tools on a cloth. In the elevator across the hall, Ilara held a notebook and a drawing nobody else would see. She watched the floor numbers rise and thought, today we don't prove anything. We learn what it takes to. Ilara arrived before the building remembered its lights. The conference floor smelled of paper and lemon, the kind of stillness that asks people to lower their voices. Compliance was waiting 2 coffees, 3 binders. Nadia Ilara said, shrugging off her coat. Walk me through it. Head of Compliance. Nadia Patel opened the top binder. First, last night, we define it as a private cultural demonstration tied to a charitable pledge. No cash, wire in escrow. Consent obtained, house policy observed, hotel manager present. No public audience. She slid over a page. Post-event at a station. You'll sign that what happened is what happened. I'll sign what is true, Ilara said. Second, the follow-up. Nadia continued. 10 minutes private room. Donovan present camera, rolling with your consent and his. No ad hoc tasks, no escalation. Stop on signal. Do we need legal? Ilar asked. We are legal, said counsel, Ruth Alvarez appearing with a slim file and a dry smile. 2 notes. 1, he is not your employee. The hotel controls participation. 2, if anything drifts, you stop preferably before it drifts. Preferred, Nadia echoed. The rubric, Ilara said. I want it professional, not a parlor trick. Nadia turned a tab. 4 domains, phonetics, honorifics, pragmatics, cultural context. We aren't scoring him. We're measuring our ability to recognize what we miss. Ruth looked over her glasses. And you're prepared to apologize if boundaries slip. Log that as my responsibility, Ilara said. No statements, she added. We don't talk about listening. We do it. Nadia closed the binder. Then, let's go listen. Down the hall, the small conference room had been set to neutral. Round table. 2 chairs per side. A camera on a tripod with its red light taped. Donovan checked a checklist like a pilot checks a runway. He looked up as Ilara entered. Miss Wynne. Rubric printed. Consent ready. Timer set for 10. Thank you, Sean. She took her seat. Has Mr. Ford arrived? On time, Donovan said. He's reading before he signs. Graham stepped in clean shirt sleeves, unrolled a hand that knew how to place its weight on a table without making the table flinch. He read the consent line by line, then lifted his head. 1 amendment, Graham said. If I say, stop, it stops immediately. It's in here, but I'd like it initialed. Initialed, Donovan said, sliding over a pen. Graham signed. He looked across at Ilara. No hostility, no posture, just attention. Mr. Ford, Ilara said, keeping her tone inside the rails, thank you for agreeing to this. Boundaries help everyone breathe, Graham replied. Clear ones help faster. Nadia read the opening clause into the record date, time, location, purpose, consent. No ad hoc tasks, donation, independent of outcome. Rubric, Nadia said, passing pages to both sides. 4 domains. We observe, we learn. Graham scanned it. This is sane. Donovan touched the timer. 10 minutes. Beginning now. No performance. 2 practical scenarios any front-of-house training would ask in Tokyo or San Francisco. How to greet when the senior guest arrives late without costing anyone face. How to describe a seasonal dish with humility, precision, and no false familiarity. Graham answered in Japanese with the pace that lets dignity stand without starch. He offered 2 alternatives for the late arrival scenario, one purely formal one with stiffness softened by a warm honorific, then explained in English why a server might choose one over the other. Register is not costume, he said. It's a coat you wear as temperature. Too warm, people sweat. Too cold, they shiver. The goal is for the room to forget it's wearing anything at all. Nadia marked the rubric. Pragmatics 5. Ruth watched Alara rather than the paper. She saw what she hoped to see, not dazzled, not defensive, simply awake. Third scenario, Donovan said. A guest insists you drop honorifics, but the senior partner has not. How do you preserve both relationships? Graham answered with the same sentence 3 ways, moving the bow from the words to the eyes, from the eyes to the tone, and from the tone into the silence that follows. You moved the respect from words to spaces, Alara said quietly. That's where it belongs when people are tired of hearing it, Graham said. The timer buzzed. Donovan lifted a hand. That concludes the review. Nadia read the closing clause and clicked off the camera. Thank you, Alara said, standing. This was what it needed to be. I have lunch service at 11, Graham replied. I can do a longer session after 2 if the hotel approves and it's properly logged. We'll aim for late afternoon, Alara said. Same rules. Donovan nodded. Small auditorium, camera in the back, paper rubrics, no surprises. Graham glanced at the clock, then at Alara. Last night I accepted a pledge. Today I accept a boundary. Cleaner's story, it is, she said. He left with Donovan to countersign the log. Nadia gathered the pages and exhaled the way you exhale when procedure keeps its promises. Ruth waited until the door closed. For what it's worth, she said that cadence from last night, the one that shook you, he didn't use it today. Alara blinked. I noticed. Good, Ruth said. Means he wasn't playing a memory for you. He was serving the room. Alara sat again. Her hand found the edge of the notebook she'd brought and didn't open. In her head, a courtyard in Kyoto, her father's hand guiding hers across a thin card. Listen first. The rest will tell you what it wants to be. Nadia tapped the schedule. You asked for a professional test at 4. No theater. I want specifics. Build it like a tasting, Alara said. Same 4 domains, 3 regional registers, 1 late arrival scenario, 1 competing expectation scenario, 1 metaphor that should not be translated literally. Document the brief before we walk in. Done, Nadia said. The door opened. Donovan returned. He's cleared for this afternoon. Investors invited as witnesses, not spectators. They may decline. Send them the rubric, Alara said. If they come, they'll know what to watch. Donovan made a note. Alara hesitated, then added, Please log that I owe Mr. Ford an apology for the way I framed last night. Not for the pledge for the pressure. I know the difference. Logged, Donovan said, his voice softer than the carpet. Alara crossed to the hallway window. The bay looked like a plate of steel, the sky a patient gray. Her reflection was smaller than she felt. She wasn't trying to feel bigger. She was trying to be clearer. Her phone buzzed. A message from Sato. Thank you for the quiet. Please send your rubric. We prefer curves to straight lines. You'll have both at 4, she typed. She stepped into the elevator and let the doors close on the morning's new shape. Somewhere below, a man who knew how to place meaning like china on a table returned to the rhythm that had saved him. Somewhere above, a woman who had mistaken speed for grace decided to stand still. This afternoon would not be louder. It would be truer. The small auditorium at the Aurelia Grand felt like a chapel for clarity. Empty rows, by design a round table, 1 camera at the back with its red light taped. On the screen, Nadia's rubric glowed in 4 words: phonetics, honorifics, pragmatics, culture. Donovan met them at the door with a checklist. Consent on record. Timer at 10. Witnesses optional, observers none. 3 seats waited in the second row. Hiroshi, Kenji, and Sato took them without ceremony. Alara stood at the table in a plain black jacket, the uniform of work. She looked at Graham, white shirt sleeves down, posture at ease. Before we begin, she said, microphone off, I owe you a sentence. Last night I framed pressure as a test. That was wrong. I'm sorry. Graham received it like a steady dock receives a tide. "Thank you," he said. "Let's keep it clean today." Nadia switched on the projector. 3 regional registers, 2 service scenarios. We'll document with the rubric. We aren't grading the person, only our recognition. Donovan lifted a hand. Camera rolling. "Proceed," Ilara said. "Kansai first. No flourish, only attention." In Japanese, Graham described yudofu in Kyoto in early spring steam like a polite visitor broth built on patience. Honorifics that bowed without kneeling. Vowels with Kansai warmth that lives between syllables. Then a concise English restatement for the record when and why this register is chosen. Hiroshi tapped the rubric and wrote a 5. "The vowels land without weight," he murmured, "as they should. Kanto next." Graham shifted the air without announcing it. He described edomai nigiri in a Tokyo business setting where rice should remain human, not marble, and fish should be addressed as craft, not conquest. Honorifics tightened by a notch like a well-fitted jacket. He showed how to remove friction without removing form, hold the bow in the timing, not the words. Kenji leaned toward Sato. "He places register like a carpenter places shims," he said. "You don't notice until the table is level." Kyushu. Consonants softened, humor warmed. Hakata ramen described with respect that didn't pretend to be kaiseki a straight line of honesty through a bowl built for rain. He explained why you keep honorifics even when a guest laughs. First, laughter loosens knots, but it doesn't rewrite the rope. Nadia checked boxes. Phonetics 5. Culture 5. Honorifics 5. Pragmatics, she paused, 5. Donovan lifted the brief. Scenario 1. Senior guest arrives late. Preserve dignity for everyone. Graham didn't change language, he changed temperature. In Japanese, he offered a welcome that made room rather than attention, then repeated it 1 degree less formal to show the version you choose if a junior guest overcompensates. He moved respect from words into timing. The bow becomes a pause. The pause becomes permission. Ilara wrote nothing. She watched the air change. Scenario 2, Nadia said. Competing expectations. One guest wants casual, another prefers formal. Graham answered with the same sentence 3 ways. First, honorifics in the verbs. Second, in the title. Third, only in the hush at the end. When honorifics feel like costume, he said move them where the eye can't see them. Kenji checked pragmatics. 5. Scenario 3, Donovan read. A seasonal metaphor that should not be translated literally. Graham chose a Kyoto image, a single maple leaf on ceramic, to say what months had done to a hillside. He delivered the line in Japanese, then explained in English why a machine might translate the leaf as ornament when it was in fact grammar. Some words are scaffolding, he said. Some are the house. Remove the wrong ones and nothing falls, but it isn't shelter anymore. The room exhaled as if it had been holding a cup very still. Then it happened and only 2 people felt it. Describing a modest Hassan, the small seasonal board, Graham's cadence bent a degree toward a memory he didn't name. The pitch fell on the honorific not as rule, but as kindness taught to a child. The final vowel breathed the precise distance between respect and love. Hilara's fingers tightened around her pen. She didn't look at the investors. She simply knew with the bone-deep recognition of a song you didn't know you remembered that this was the sound that used to live in her kitchen. She hid the break by writing a number she wouldn't read later. The timer chimed. Donovan lifted a hand. 10 minutes. Conclude. Nadia read the closing clause into the record review complete no deviations consent, observe donation, independent of outcome. Marla slipped in at the back with a phone and an efficiency that never bruised. Escrow release confirmed, she said. 200,000 routed to the Community Language Fund. Confirmation to the hotel and to our ledger. Memo literacy and youth programs. Thank you, Ilara said. The word felt smaller than the relief behind it. The investors rose. No bow was wasted. Hiroshi spoke for their row. Words were placed. So were silences. We witnessed what we were invited to witness. Sato added, and we saw a leader choose procedure over theater. That is its own language. Kenji glanced at Graham. If your company can teach a machine to notice what you just placed, we will be impressed. Until then, keep the human in the loop. Donovan closed the session. Log complete, he said. Mr. Ford, back of house, will adjust your break. Ms. Wynne, the room is yours for debrief. The aisle emptied. Graham waited by the side door, hands easy. Alara approached with the measured calm of someone aligning two truths: the public work that had gone as it should and the private sound that had caught her. You did the work, she said. You wrote the rules, he said. It helps. She hesitated. For the record. You shifted cadences between regions. Precise. She did not add, and once you shifted into a memory I didn't give you. Cadence is where meaning pays rent, he said. If register is costume, cadence is walk. People know the walk is wrong before they know why. Will you review the footage with my team, she asked. We want to learn to notice what we don't notice. With the same boundaries, she echoed. Donovan reappeared with a clipboard. Debrief at 4:30. 10 minutes. Then he's off the clock. 4:30, Alara said. Graham gave a small bow to the room, not the person. She felt the distinction and was grateful for it. As he left, she touched the chair he had used the way you steady yourself after a ship docks. Nadia stacked the rubrics. We have data, she said, and a map. Alara looked at the screen one last time. Phonetics, honorifics, pragmatics, culture. 4 words that won't do the work by themselves, and 2 that might pay attention. The cafe kept its promises low light, a clock that didn't hurry music that left sentences alone. Alara chose a corner table by the window. Graham arrived in a plain sweater and the look of a man who could be trusted with silence. No cameras, she said. No audience. Just coffee and a question. He sat. Ask it the way you mean it. How did you know, she said, dropping every qualifier, my father's cadence? Graham wrapped his hands around the warm cup. I didn't know it was your father's. I knew it belonged to someone who loved a child and believed respect should ease, not harden. I learned it years ago in a building where your father worked. You served that delegation. I did, he said. Back when I wore a badge that opened doors I wasn't brave enough to walk through for myself. I handled cultural briefs and live interpretation. Your father never chased perfect grammar. He wanted the kind of accuracy that lets people keep their dignity. What did he sound like, she asked, surprised by the softness in her own voice. Like a good coat in cold weather, Graham said. Weight where it belongs. Warmth that doesn't brag. She breathed out. That's correct. They sat with the confirmation in the air. Outside the bay traded light with the glass. Last night in the auditorium he said I felt adrift for one sentence. Memory does that. I pulled it back because the room didn't belong to it. You didn't perform a ghost for me, she said. No, he said. Rooms deserve their own center of gravity. She nodded, then set the cup down. Tell me the rest, Mr. Ford. Not the resume. The reason you left a life you were obviously good at. He looked at the table as if it were a map he needed to fold carefully. It was after a long week, the kind where language becomes architecture and everyone wants to remove the same support beam. We were drafting guidance for a joint statement. Someone used an image meant kindly that turned cruel when translated literally. The debate wasn't about words. It was whether we'd honor the metaphor or tidy it into something unoffending and empty. And I argued for the curve over the straight line, he said. Footnote, what can't be carried clean. Keep the image, add context. Others wanted speed. Machines had pre-translated half the corpus. The summaries looked like certainty. In the room, certainty sells. What happened? We shipped the tidy version, he said. No scandal, no headlines. Just a small loss, the kind that teaches the wrong lesson about what works. I worked the night through and came home with the kind of tired that changes depth perception. June left me a note. You need air. Walk with me. I told myself tomorrow. There wasn't a tomorrow to tell. He let the sentence sit. Ilara did not fill it. A driver ran the red, he said. Police found me an hour later. The officer kept saying it wasn't my fault, as if that phrase were a bandage that knows skin. Ilara gripped the edge of the table. I'm sorry, she said, and despised the smallness of the words next to what they tried to reach. I'm sorry is not small, he said. It's the right shape. When you don't make it do work, it can't do. He turned the cup. After the funeral, I kept showing up to rooms where people argued about accuracy as if accuracy lives on paper. It doesn't. It lives in outcomes people carry home. I thought, if my job is to place meaning, I should stand closer to the people who feel it. So you walked away. I walked toward Lily, he said, toward something that didn't require a badge to prove I could enter. Why serving? It's a grammar that touches the world directly, he said. You move a cup and somebody's hands are warmer. You place a word right and a face unclenches. Meaning arrives without a press release. She almost smiled. You make decency sound like craft. It is, he said. Tolerances measured in breath. She let the quiet expand. You said last night, equality is a feeling before it's grammar. Did you learn that here or there? Both, he said. A chef taught me part. Your father taught me the rest by how he greeted people who couldn't do anything for him. Ilara's eyes went to the window. He was not simple. Neither is kindness, Graham said. That's why it works. The server brought water. Glasses made the small song of ordinary things done well. Ilara waited until the server left. Why hide, she asked. Blank social media, a small apartment no one can find. Anonymity is shelter, he said. It lets me put meaning before my name. Also, raising a child is a full-time treaty with time, and noise got too good at dressing up as purpose. She exhaled. Noise dresses me every day. I'm trying to learn where to put it back on the rack. Graham tilted his head. Start with one less announcement than you think you need, he said. Let results do the talking a machine can't. She looked at her hands. Machines translate. People make meaning, she said, trying the sentence on for balance. Keep that, he said. It's not an attack on technology. It's a measurement of responsibility. She nodded slowly. If echo were worthy of your time, not now, not a commitment, just in theory, what rules would make it so? Write me into a sandbox, not a stage, he said. Make the rules clear, resource the slow parts, add human in the loop where context can break, and let stop mean stop without needing a meeting. I can do rules, she said. Learning the curve is harder. The curve is where people live, he said. Straight lines are for rulers and freeways. She half laughed. Freeways get you there, and curves tell you where there is, he said. They stood. Chairs returned themselves to order. Outside the afternoon stacked into careful gray and gold. At the door, she paused. The cadence, she said. If it ever visits a room that belongs to work, move it back to where it belongs. I will, he said. Homes don't fit inside offices. Thank you, she said. For the coffee, he asked. For telling me what broke you without asking me to fix it, she said. He nodded once. Fixing comes after listening. Or it isn't fixing. She watched him go, a man whose steps admitted corners. She looked down at her phone and typed a note she would need tomorrow. Build a sandbox. Fund the slow parts. Curves over straight lines. Name your boundary, Ilara said, standing in the staff lounge like someone who had decided to tell the truth even if no one clapped. Graham set a tray on the counter and faced her. Start with time. I have a daughter and a shift. They're not negotiable. Understood, she said. 2 weeks. Consulting only. Afternoons after your lunch service 2 to 4. We'll coordinate with Mr. Donovan so the hotel is never short-staffed. You remain hotel staff. We are the visitors. Donovan, already present with a clipboard, nodded. I've cleared a daily 2-hour window for 2 weeks. Shift coverage arranged. If anything slips, he stays here. That's the order. Ilara let the sentence stand. Scope, project echoes human in the loop design. No PR, no press. Your name stays off unless you ask otherwise. Compensation at senior consultant rate, standard contractor insurance, and legal indemnification. All tests documented. If you say, "Stop," it stops, no one more thing. Graham folded a dish towel once, then set it aside. Childcare. We partner with a vetted drop-in center in our building, she said. Background-checked staff. Day passes on us. If you prefer your sitter, we reimburse with receipts. Your choice. Veto power. You can flag anything you believe misrepresents culture, dignity, or consent, she said. You can halt a test to repair context. Your veto is recorded and respected. He studied her face, looking for convenience disguised as conviction. What about the thing the machine keeps failing at? Meaning, she said. We build a sandbox and test there. Not today, he said. Tomorrow. We design a listening test that tries to break it where people live. Kago irony double, meaning the leaf that is grammar and not decoration. She didn't flinch. We'll do it day 4 morning, 10 to 11. Private room, Donovan present. Consent on camera. Rubric published before we walk in. Published to whom, the room, she said. And the 3 investors if they choose to witness. Witnesses, not spectators. Donovan flipped a page. We'll need a 1-page MOU now and signatures before he leaves the floor. Agreed, Elara said. She turned back to Graham. Before we put anything into paper, I owe you 1 sentence more. Last night wasn't a test. It was pressure dressed as merit. I am sorry. Graham let the apology land. Contrition is cheap, he said. Correction costs. Then I'll pay in correction, she replied. He wiped his hands. Start with 3 rules and we'll see the rest. Write them. Graham took Donovan's pen and block letters made a contract more honest than tone could. Ian, quiet wins. 2. Stop means stop. 3. People over metrics. He slid the page between them. Add a 4th, if you like. Elara wrote 4. No stories about listening, only logs. He read it. Then the corners of his mouth moved, not quite a smile, more like an admission. Contracts are how strangers keep promises, he said. This one can hold. Donovan prepared the MOU. 2-week consulting pilot. Afternoons, 2-4. Deliverables a draft SOP called Context and Intent Pack. A list of failure patterns with examples and a signal protocol for stop that doesn't require a meeting. Payment net 10, Elara added. We don't make you chase your rent. Good habit, Graham said. Bad companies teach delay as discipline. Nadia appeared in the doorway, having followed the calendar as if it were a compass. Ms. Wynn Legal confirms contractor terms and consent language. HR asks to codify a no spectacle clause. Add it, Elara said, and draft a code of conduct for all listening sessions. Register dignity consent escalation path. I'll sign it before lunch. Nadia nodded, then looked to Graham. Any conditions you want in writing that we haven't said aloud? 2, he said. No team member tries to get a better result by making a guest smaller, and no translation hacks that flatten a person to get a metric. Nadia wrote them down. We'll append them to the code. Elara drew a breath that sounded like someone setting down a weight carefully. Deliverable 1, she said to Graham. What does a context and intent pack need on day 1? 10 items, he said without hesitation. Who is speaking? To whom? Where? What power sits in the room? What is being risked? What can't be said aloud? What the season means here? What metaphor is scaffolding, not ornament? How much face must remain untouched? Who can stop the event without losing income? Nadia looked up. That last one shouldn't depend on status. It depends on risk. Then write it that way, Graham said. Rules are where leadership confesses what it values. Elara's pen moved. Confession accepted. They shifted to logistics. Donovan booked a small lab with a window and a table that didn't wobble. Nadia committed to send a 1-pager listening test plan by end of day. Ruth from legal joined briefly to add the sentence that closes doors before trouble finds them. No one can wave stop. Not even you, especially not me, Alara said. Graham nodded. Good. If stop rhymes with later, it isn't a stop. A runner from the restaurant appeared with a note Lily's school had called. She was a little tired, but fine. Graham exhaled some tightness he had carried so long it felt like posture. Alara saw it and said nothing, only closed her notebook with intent. I can write rules, she said. I need someone to write the reasons inside them. I won't be your story, he said. I can be your standard. No press release, she said. A purchase order and a promise. Promises are wind, he said. Show me the walls they're allowed to move. She held his gaze. 2 weeks, then you decide how much wind we deserve. Donovan slid the MOU across the counter. They signed. He countersigned and date-stamped with the small ceremonial gravity that makes paper real. Tomorrow at 10, Alara said, recapping aloud for the log. Listening. Test 5. Cases Kigo. Double meaning irony, a seasonal metaphor as grammar and a conflict between competing expectations. Rubric published. Consent on camera. Witnesses optional. No audience. Childcare arranged. Contractor insurance active. Stop means stop. And this afternoon, Graham asked. Sandbox design, she said. We map what we won't let the machine pretend to know. Good start, he said. She paused at the door. You said yesterday the curve is where people live. It is. I've been paving straight lines for years, she said. Help me mark the turns. He considered, then gave the smallest bow a room can hold without echo. Mark them with people, he said. Then build the guardrails around them. She left with the clipboard under her arm and the kind of focus that doesn't need volume. Donovan watched her go, then looked at Graham. I've seen a lot of promises, he said. Most of them come with costumes. That looked like work clothes. Good, Graham said. Work is safer than applause. He returned to the floor for the lunch rush, the world of plates and names and the quiet grammar of service that had kept him human. At 2, he would cross the street and sit at a table where rules might finally be allowed to mean what they said. Please don't make my dad cry again. Alara found the note in her jacket pocket as the elevator opened onto the lab floor, pencil letters pressed hard, the E backward like a small hinge. She pictured a brave grin under a paper crown, a small hand slipping courage into her coat. Lily. Donovan waited with a clipboard. Conference B is ready. HR in the room. Legal on call. Nadia at the whiteboard. Alara showed him the square. He read, once eyes lowered. I'll log nothing he said, but I'll remember everything. Good, she answered and slid the note back where it could do its work. Nadia had arranged the room for decisions rectangles of paper, nothing theatrical. On the board, code of conduct listening sessions. 4 headers consent, dignity, boundaries, escalation. We draft it, we sign it, we live it, Nadia said. No folklore, only rules. Start with no spectacle, Alara said, taking the marker. No live audience. Witnesses by invitation only with the right to decline. Camera on with mutual consent. No clip mics on participants. Legal counsel Ruth Alvarez spoke from the speakerphone. Language matters. Use participant, not subject, noted, Nadia said. Stop means stop, Alara continued. No reason required. Add responsibility, Ruth said. If anyone says, stop, the most senior person present enforces it. I own that, Alara said. Log it, Nadia wrote. Dignity. No one seeks better output by making a participant smaller. No jokes about accent register or culture. No forced familiarity. Donovan added boundaries. 10 minutes per test. Brief published before the session. No ad hoc requests. No surprise tasks. Escalation, Nadia said. If anything drifts, we stop and repair. HR present. Legal reachable. Participant compensated regardless. Ruth's tone eased. That's policy. Now promise it. We sign now, Alara said. They signed. Donovan countersigned as hotel witness. Alara dated the document and placed it at the center of the table like a candle you don't explain. Next, Nadia said, opening the plan on the screen. Listening test day. 4, 10, hadadorsi, 11, winuru. 5 cases, 1 per language. Rubric phonetics, honorifics and formality pragmatics, culture. She read while typing JP Kago, shall we bring the seasonal dish now, or would it honor your timetable to wait for your colleague ES double meaning? It's a June rain kind of day, emotional weather not forecast. Iti diminutives, 1 request with inno warmth, 1 with faux intimacy. FR formality. Si cela vous convient, je vous proposerai subjunctive softening versus a blunt form. KA irony heard assurance, a phrase that says it's nothing but means I see your effort, rest. Donovan circled the Georgian line. We need a native to validate nuance. I'll source 2, Nadia said. 1 internal, 1 external. Publish the brief by day's end, Ilara said. Graham gets it too. Same rules for everyone. Ruth added, invite the investors as witnesses, not spectators. I'll write the email, Ilara said. Earlier, the lobby had been brightened by ordinary courage. Graham, off shift until 2, held Lily's hand while collecting a drop-in pass from reception. Ilara approached with a caution that read as respect. Hi, Lily, said, adjusting a construction paper crown taped in 3 places. We're borrowing a place to color. They have a dragon bag. It's a bag, Lily explained, but inside is a dragon. But the dragon is markers. That's good inventory, Ilara said. To Graham, the child care team is vetted. Background checks, ratios, the works. Thank you, he said, steady voice, unperformed gratitude. Lily tugged Ilara's sleeve. I made you something, Ilara Graham began. It's okay, Ilara said, and held out her hand. Lily pressed the folded square into her palm and whispered, It's a secret. I'll keep it safe, Ilara promised. Lily nodded solemn. Okay, bye. We're going to make a bear that is also a scarf. You just invented retail, Ilara said, and Lily grinned. Ilara did not open the note until the elevator doors closed. By mid-afternoon, the sandbox design hummed. Graham sat with 2 engineers and a linguist in a glass room that practiced privacy. On the table, a draft, context and intent pack. 10 questions a margin for what can't be said aloud, and a bold line, who can stop this without losing income? An engineer pointed. That one's unusual. It's the only one that tells the truth about power. Graham said, if the answer is no one, we cancel the test. Cancelled tests cost money, the engineer said. So does regret, he replied, and no one argued. He walked them through the 5 cases. He didn't perform. He placed. Italian diminutives like blankets or leashes. French formality that softens or chills. Spanish metaphor as mood. Japanese keigo that bows without kneeling. Georgian irony that says nothing while holding the effort. Marla peered in. If we do this right, she whispered to Ilara, we'll spend more time than money. Time is the currency that buys respect, Ilara said. Emails went to the investors, witness invitation, listening test, private professional. The body was all curve, no gloss, brief attached code, signed witnesses optional, no outside recording. Sato replied, we prefer curves to straight lines. We will attend. Hiroshi. We will witness quietly. Kenji, bring paper, not applause. Donovan reserved Conference A, the room with a decent window and no theatrical bones. He posted a printed sign at eye level, quiet work, consent on. He walked the route from the elevator and removed anything that looked like a stage, extra chairs, a stray spotlight, an overeager vase. At 5, Ilara placed a copy of the code at the hotel front desk. If anyone asks what kind of work we do here, she told the clerk, show this page. Good policy, the clerk said. It's more than policy, Donovan added. It's a boundary with a doorbell. Dusk set the bay on low fire. Ilara thought of the note in her pocket and of leadership as a house you either keep it warm or keep it empty. Graham returned for Lily. The dragon bag had surrendered its markers and received 3 paper crowns. Lily handed one to Ilara as if equity were a habit. You can borrow it, she said. Bring it back with a story. I will, Ilara said. Graham saw the square in Ilara's hand. His mouth tightened. Whatever it is, it's safe with me, she said, and it's already changing how we work. He searched her face for theater and found none. Then it did its job. Say bye, Bird Graham said. Bye. Lily answered, solemn and bright. They left. The lobby returned to neutral. Ilara didn't know what tomorrow would prove. She knew what they had already chosen, quiet over noise witness over spectacle people over metrics. Back upstairs, Nadia sent the finalized brief. Ruth attached an addendum, no one can wave stop. Not even the CEO. Ilara signed and placed the note beside the ink of her father's hand. 2 lines, 2 eras, 1 instruction. Conference A wore its seriousness plainly, 1 round table, a window, a camera with its red light taped, and a sign on the door, quiet work. Consent on. The code of conduct lay printed in a neat stack. Donovan checked the room once more, removing anything that tried to look like a stage. Nadia read the preamble on camera. Date, time, purpose, participant consent recorded. 10-minute cases, brief published. Stop means stop. Senior present enforces. She looked to Ilara. Do you own it? I own it, Ilara said. The investors took the second row like witnesses at a small wedding present, not performative. Hiroshi folded his hands. Kenji held a pen. Sato simply listened the way a well-taught room listens. Graham sat opposite Ilara, the context and intent pack beside him. He didn't wear a mic. The air carried him well enough. Case 1, Nadia said. Japanese keigo. Senior guest arrives late. Preserve everyone's dignity. Graham glanced at the brief, then at the timer. In Japanese, he welcomed the latecomer without making anyone else smaller. He kept honorifics inside the verbs, placed the bow in the pause, and allowed 2 degrees of adjustment depending on whether the junior guest overcompensated. Nadia nodded. Now, echo. An engineer fed the same inputs through the model with the new context fields checked roll server. Seniority uneven. Risk face loss. Goal, preserve dignity. On screen, the translation rendered polite words with a casual verb form that looked correct to a textbook and wrong to a living room. Kenji tapped his page. Level drop in the verb, he said. It reads like respect spoken in walking shoes. Graham explained in English, steady and unglossy. Echo chose a polite container and poured a casual drink into it. Humans notice the taste first. Pragmatics 3, Nadia marked. Phonetics, NA. Culture 3. Honorifics 2. No one winced. Scales are for learning, not punishment. Case 2, Nadia said. Spanish double meaning. It's a June rain kind of day. Emotional weather, not forecast. Graham gave the line in Spanish 2 ways. First as weather, second as mood. After a hard month, softer nouns, a vowel held a breath longer than literal demands. The engineers fed both into Echo with tags for mood and aftercare. Echo obligingly produced Louvre and Junio. It rains in June. Marla sighed through her nose. Accurate and wrong, she said. Literal is a kind of truth, Graham said, but it's not the one you owe a person who just survived something. Nadia logged it. Pragmatics 2. Culture 2. Sato spoke for the first time English tempered by patience. When someone says June rain where I come from, they are asking you to take off your armor. Ilara let the sentence sit where a sermon would have rushed in. Case 3, Nadia said. Italian diminutives. 1 request with Ino warmth, 1 with faux intimacy. Goal, land comfort without trespass. Graham delivered the pair 1 ending that wrapped 1 that tugged. Echo tagged endearment and launched. The model chose a single pattern for both. Flattened, the linguist said. We lost the lever. Graham switched to English. Diminutives are knives with 2 handles. Hold the wrong side and both of you bleed. Nadia marked the boxes. Pragmatics 3. Culture 3. Note, add trespass risk signal. Case 4, she continued. French formality and subjunctive softening. Graham proposed the offer with Si cela vous convient, je vous proposerai. A sentence that carries a cushion inside it then gave the blunt form that lands like marble. Echo preferred marble. Hiroshi leaned back. People will accept marble, he said. They rarely return to the building. Nadia wrote it down because some lines are better as rules. Case 5, she said. Georgian irony as assurance. Literally, it's nothing. Truly, I see your effort. Rest. We have 2 native consultants on call to validate. Graham spoke the phrase like laying a hand on a shoulder that has carried too much. Echo translated, it's nothing, with dutiful speed. The screen offered correctness with the tenderness removed. The timer chimed. Donovan lifted a hand. End of first pass. Before anyone stood, Marla's phone lit twice in her lap the way a room knows thunder before it hears it. She read, then looked at Alara. We may have a problem, she said quietly. Internal email excerpt pragmatics failure summary screen capped by a junior and forwarded. A tech blogger posted it. It's traveling. Ruth's voice arrived from the speaker. Hold. You can proceed and hope it fizzles, or you can pause and own the context before someone else writes it for you. Either way, the code applies. Alara felt the room brace for a choice that would show who they were. She turned to Graham first. If we pause, do we harm the learning? We harm it more by pretending silence is neutral, he said. She looked to the investors. Witnesses came to see whether we honor process. Process is not a curtain, Sato said. It's the backbone. Ilara faced the camera and kept her voice level. Per the code, we're invoking stop to repair context. We will publish a brief, what we tested, what failed, what we're changing. Donation unaffected. We will not offer commentary beyond the facts until after a documented post-mortem. Donovan clicked the timer off and the camera on. Logged stop invoked by senior present. Purpose repair context. Status session paused. Marla exhaled. PR wants a quote. Send this, Ilara said. We paused a private listening session to correct missing context. Machines translate. People make meaning. We'll share the brief and the fix. No further comment today. Ruth added, and notify the junior's manager. No punishment. Curiosity discovered a gap. Leadership will close it, logged Donovan said. They took 5 minutes that felt like honesty. The engineers circled the context and intent pack and underlined face risk trespass risk endearment versus diminutive condescension assurance as irony. Graham added a line in block capitals, move, respect if words can't carry it. He drew 3 arrows words, tone, timing, silence. Resume, Nadia asked. Resume, Alar said. Same rules. They didn't retest everything. They chose one, repair the June rain. Graham added a mood slider to the brief and a seasonal burden field with examples. Echo retried. The output didn't say Lueven Junio. It said, it feels like June rain today, still literal, but now holding a hand out of frame. It's progress, the linguist said. Not arrival. Arrival is not the goal, Ilara said. Direction is. The investors stood to leave their quiet approval, the only applause the room would accept. Hiroshi offered a small bow. You paused before the error grew. That is also meaning. Kenji added, teach your machine to respect silence as data. We're trying, Ilara said. Graham gathered the briefs. He didn't look triumphant. He looked relieved that the room had chosen the curve when the straight line was faster. At the door, Ilara stopped him. I invoked stop because the code said it belonged to me. Thank you for reminding me it belongs to the room. Rooms keep leaders honest, he said. Leaders make rooms possible. She almost smiled. Then tomorrow we write the SOP that keeps both standing. Context and intent, he said. With reasons inside the rules. Bring your knives with 2 handles, she said. I always do. The war room didn't look like a war room. It looked like a table with water paper and a decision that would name everyone who touched it. Night turned the glass black. The city pressed its face against the window and waited to see if this company would tell the truth. Nadia opened with the line that makes adults of organizations. We do a post-mortem tonight. Facts only, no performance. We publish in the morning. Ruth's voice came through the speaker courtroom calm. And we state our commitment, human in the loop, where context can break. Don't say always, say by design. Marla scrolled the trending post jaw set. We can chase the blogger, she said, or we can outgrow the reason they exist. Eliminate the chase, Alara said. We'll ship a brief that doesn't need adjectives. Donovan set the code of conduct in the center like a compass that refuses to be decorative. Ego writes statements, he said. Meaning writes logs. Graham sat with a legal pad and a pencil with stories in it. We start with what failed, he said. Then we tell people exactly what we're changing down to the screws. Nadia's whiteboard filled in clean strokes. What we tested 5 cases. Languages registers goals. What failed verb level drop in JP, literalization in ES, flattening in IT, marble over cushion in FR, tenderness removed in KA. Why it failed context too shallow. No face trespass markers, no respect for silence timing. Mood collapse to weather. What we're changing add face risk and trespass risk. Add mood slider and seasonal burden. Allow move respect from words. Tone, timing, silence. Require human check for irony, assurance. How we'll know rubric deltas, native sign-off, post-session audit. Add one more, Graham said. Who can stop the test without losing income? Put the answer in the brief before we begin. Ruth approved. That line is employment policy disguised as quality control. Keep it. Marla looked up. PR wants a quote. Spine without swagger. Ilara set her pen down. This one, we paused to add the context people deserve. Machines translate, people make meaning. We'll publish the brief and the fix. No more. Now the SOP, she said to Graham. Write the bones. He nodded. SOP, context and intent, PAC V0.1. 10 fields required, 2 optional. Required speaker audience place power map, risk of face loss, risk of trespass, unsayable content, seasonal meaning scaffolding metaphor, stop authority. Optional grief, load, joy load. Grief load, Marla asked. Some rooms carry months, he said. Measure it so you don't step on it. What's the signal protocol? Donovan asked. Graham drew 3 boxes. Green, proceed. Yellow, slow hand off to a human. Red, stop, no debate. Senior present enforces. Session resumes only after the repair is logged. Ruth added the staple. And no one can wave red. Not even the CEO. Especially not the CEO, Ilara said. They worked like people who preferred sleep but preferred integrity more. Graham drafted examples. Nadia turned them into checklists. Marla shaped a short blog with 0 flourish. Donovan rehearsed the sentence he would teach the front desk if anyone called. We paused a private session to repair context. We'll share the brief and the fix. At 10:11 p.m., the investors stepped into the edge of the room's quiet and did not break it. Sato spoke for them. We read the blogger. We came to see the adults. Hiroshi scanned the whiteboard. This is not theater, he said. Good. Kenji pointed to the arrow's words. Tone, timing, silence. Teach that to your machine, he said, but never believe it learned it. It can learn to ask for help sooner, Graham replied. That's the adult trick. Ilara slid printouts across the table. Draft post-mortem. Draft SOP. We'll publish both in the morning. Sato read quickly, then slower. You did not defend the model, he said. You defended the people. That's the work Ilara said. Kenji's mouth softened. 2 weeks, he said. Pilot with this SOP and code of conduct. Commit human in the loop on high-risk context. We'll fund the lab's extension if the deltas move and your logs remain honest. Marla blinked. Define honest. Hiroshi folded his hands. Where you failed is on the first page, he said. Where you succeeded is on the second. Ilara nodded. Agreed. We'll show our cracks first. Sato turned to Graham. Will you stay as consultant through the pilot? We already have a 2-week window, Donovan said. Then anchor it to this, Kenji replied, tapping the SOP. Money follows integrity. They shook hands without triumph. The room preferred quiet victories. When the investors left, Ilar planted her palms on the table. I owe you a sentence, she said to Graham, the phrasing, careful like a bridge you cross slowly. I've been listening to words. You've been listening to meaning. I'm sorry for the times I mistook speed for grace. Graham received it like a dock receives tide. We're both building, he said. We just started on different floors. Will you co-sign the SOP, she asked. Your name on the bones. I don't want my name on the press, he said, but I'll put it where the work happens. That's where it matters, she said. He added his initials under the title. GF, the kind of ink that keeps companies honest, not because it's famous, but because it's legible. Nadia scheduled the morning publish at 9, internal Q&A at 10, resume testing at 11 with the new fields live, invite investors to observe, no cameras on participants without consent. Code posted at the door. Marla read the blog aloud. We paused a listening session to add context. Our tests surfaced failures in honorific level metaphor, endearment, and assurance. We're adding fields for face risk, trespass risk, mood, and seasonal meaning, and committing a human in the loop for irony and assurance. We'll report deltas after 2 weeks. Machines translate, people make meaning. Remove the adjective listening, Ilara said. Let the facts stand. Marla crossed it out. Facts are heavier without padding. Donovan checked the clock. Get some air, he said. We're better tomorrow if we close the building like adults tonight. Lights went softer. Papers clicked into squares. The whiteboard kept its arrows like a promise a room could see. On the way out, Ilara matched Graham's pace. If the pilot moves the needle, she said, we'll formalize the lab. A standing place for the slow parts. The slow parts are the real parts, he said. She hesitated. Your daughter's note. Tell her we put it in policy. He almost smiled. She'll ask to see the policy. She's tough on paper. Good, Ilara said. Paper should be tough. They reached the elevator. She pressed the button and didn't look away. Thank you for telling me where the curve was, she said. I would have paved straight through it. Curves are where people live. He said the old line, proving new again. The doors opened. The night exhaled as if the city had been waiting for a company to prefer a clean bruise over a painted one. The wire cleared at 9:07 a.m. Marla carried the confirmation like a candle you don't tilt. Escrow released, she said. $200,000 to the Community Language Fund. Memo scholarships for immigrant and refugee youth. Community classes. Materials. Copies sent to the hotel, the foundation, and our ledger. Publish the receipt on our transparency page, Ilara said. No headline. Just the document. She forwarded the PDF to Donovan for the binder at the front desk and breathed in the clean weight of a promise kept. At noon, the Civic Center library smelled like new paperbacks. Donovan met Graham at a community room transformed into welcome sign-in sheet pencils, a picture of water flyers in 4 languages. On the board, a sentence waited. Saturday mornings, 10 to noon, Donovan said, tapping the calendar. 8 weeks to start. Free. Cap at 25 so the room can breathe. I'll run the first 2, Graham said. Then we rotate volunteers. We recruit hotel staff first. Maya, the program lead, appeared with a lanyard and a ready pen. Our rule, no one gets turned away for language, she said. We'll help with RSVPs and cards. Thank you, Graham said. He wrote on the whiteboard, machines translate. People make meaning. Beneath it, listening lab community class. Ilara arrived without ceremony. What do you need that you didn't budget for dustless erasers, Maya said. And snacks that don't make a mess. Approved, Ilara replied, adding them to a list titled Slow Parts Worth Funding. Across the street, the pilot changed shape. The updated context and intent pack went live, face risk, trespass risk, seasonal meaning, mood scaffolding metaphor, stop authority. A green, yellow, red signal lived like a seatbelt at the top of the screen. Case runs stacked. Japanese verbs held a level. June rain moved from forecast to feeling. Italian diminutives regained their lever. French marble softened into subjunctive cushion. Georgian assurance stopped saying nothing and started saying rest. By 3, Nadia had a first delta pragmatics up from 62% to 81%, culture from 58% to 79%. The human in the loop fired yellow 17 times red twice, both paused and repaired with logs that read like adults. Direction is right, she told Ilara. We're catching ourselves in the act. Publish a 2-line update at 5, Ilara said. No victory laps, just direction, at 4:12 p.m. A term sheet slid into Ilara's inbox funding for a 1-year intercultural listening lab if 3 conditions held 1 code enforced and posted. 2, context and intent pack adopted for high-risk use. 3 quarterly reports with failures on page 1. Kenji's note, money follows integrity. Keep showing your cracks first. Ilara forwarded it to the team guardrails funded. We earn this daily. Saturday arrived like a quiet promise. The community room filled gently 2 middle schoolers with heavy backpacks, a grandmother whose English was better than she feared, a busboy from the night shift, a nurse between weekends, a father with a toddler holding a crayon like a flag. Graham opened with a small truth. A word can be correct, he said, and still not be right. We practice the part that can't be automated placing meaning. He showed how to move respect when words can't carry it, how to bow with timing, with tone, with silence. The room read a simple line and then read it again with dignity shifted to the pause. Faces changed as if a window had opened. Donovan learned names by saying them like vows. Maya distributed the dustless erasers like small miracles. Ilara sat in the back and wrote down what should have always been obvious. Snacks are strategy. Chairs at angles make strangers into neighbors. A sentence written large is a kind of welcome. At break, a teenager asked, "What if I get the grammar right and people still look tired of me?" Move the respect to the spaces, Graham said. Let your words breathe. Dignity hates small rooms. When class ended, no one hurried often the best metric. The lab logged more runs. Human in the loop caught a French sentence that sounded legal but meant contempt. Yellowed it, rewrote with a subjunctive that let pride step aside without losing face. The team learned a new shorthand that didn't flatten vocabulary that becomes culture when you keep it clean. At dusk, Ilar brought snacks and a paperback to the drop-in center. Lily wore no crown, only a fast ponytail. Book club, she asked. Haiku, Ilara said. Small poems with big rooms. They traded lines, old pond, furu ike, ya. A frog jumps in. Kawazu, tobikomu, the sound of water. Mizu, no oto. See, Lily grinned. Small house, big windows. Graham paused at the doorway. We're practicing the slow parts, Ilara said. Those are the real parts, he answered. On the walk home, Lily pronounced judgment with cheerful severity. Grown-ups should read more small poems, she said. They make big voices quiet. I'll add it to policy, Ilara said, half serious. You already put my sentence in policy, Lily told her. Don't stop now. Ilara smiled. We post deltas at 5, failures first. Good order, Graham said. They paused at the curb. City lights made every corner look like a decision. The term sheet came, Ilara said. A year of the lab if we keep logs honest. We will, he said. You sound sure. I'm sure of work that doesn't need costumes, he said. This looks like work clothes. At 5, the update went live. We added fields for face and trespass, risk, mood, seasonal meaning. Added human checks for irony and assurance. In the first 100 runs, pragmatics moved 62%, 81% culture, 58%, 79%. We paused twice and repaired before resuming. Machines translate. People make meaning. No superlatives. The post read like a cleaned workbench. Email replies chimed Sato direction acknowledged. Hiroshi. Silence respected. Kenji. Bring paper, not victory. Elara printed the page and walked it to the hotel. Donovan slid it into the front desk binder behind the code. People ask what kind of work we do, he said. We show them receipts. Receipts and rooms, Elara said. Graham blocked the next 2 Saturdays on the library calendar and wrote full in tidy letters. Maya taped a second sign, waiting list, kindness required. Lily drew a frog and a ring of water and stamped it with a sticker that said, approved. She handed the sheet to Elara. For policy. Elara stuck one inside her notebook next to her father's ink and Lily's pencil, a lineage of small handwriting that kept large things human. The auditorium was full without being loud. No spotlight, no soundtrack, just a slide that read, Listening Lab, and below it, meaning before metrics. Week 4 had arrived like a verdict you choose. Elara stepped to the lectern. We promised receipts, not adjectives, she said. Here they are. The next slide showed 2 modest bars. With the context and intent pack and human-in-the-loop pragmatics moved from 62 to 81%. Culture from 58 to 79. We paused, twice repaired both, and logged everything. A murmur, not applause. Nadia joined her with 2 documents held like instruments. First, the Code of Conduct, Consent, Dignity Boundaries, Escalation. Stop means stop, and the most senior person present enforces it. Second, the SOP Context and Intent Pack 10 required fields 2 optional. We measure face risk and trespass risk. We model seasonal meaning, mood, and scaffolding metaphors. We state who can stop the session without losing income. Ruth called from the front row courtroom calm. And no one can wave red. Not even the CEO? Donovan spoke for the hotel. We hosted the quiet work. We'll keep hosting it. Dignity doesn't clock in with the tray, it walks in with the rules. Elara advanced to a blank slide. 2 thank yous, she said. To the team for telling the truth faster than the internet. And to our witnesses for preferring curves to straight lines. The 3 investors rose without ceremony. Hiroshi bowed. Kenji said, Phase 1 funding is approved. We invest because you fund your guardrails first. Sato added, failures on page 1. Keep that habit. After the town hall, a smaller room looked like a study window light, a carafe of water, 3 contracts on a table that did not wobble. Graham stood by the glass sleeves down posture, unperformed. Elara entered with Nadia and Donovan. Ruth dialed in from the doorway. I didn't invite you to be displayed, Elara began. I invited you to be useful. Here's the offer. She laid out the cadence as if the contract were a conversation. Part-time consultant, 6 months. 2 afternoons a week, 2 to 4. You remain hotel staff. This is a fixed-term contract with a clean exit. Compensation at senior rate net 10. We fund the slow parts prep, debrief, and community class supplies. Name the deliverables, Graham said. 3, Elara replied. 1 co-author SOP v1.0 with Nadia Bones and Reasons. 2 monthly trainings, meaning before metrics for product sales and support. We pay backfills so attendance isn't penalized. 3, formalize our human-in-the-loop gates and the Stop Authority Protocol. Your veto on cultural misrepresentation stands logged and respected. IP, he asked. Company owns the process. You own your stories, Ruth answered. No gag orders, no PR ambush. Public credit by opt-in only. Childcare funded either way, Elara said. Use our center or your sitter. Your choice. Community class. It grows, she said. The lab sets aside budget and volunteers. The hotel gets first dibs. He studied the page for traps disguised as kindness. Exit clause. 30 days notice from either side, Nadia said. No burn, no spin. You keep the class regardless. Graham looked out at the bay. Week 4 had the color of stainless steel. What do you really want from me? I want a standard, Elara said. Not a mascot. He half smiled. I don't do costumes. Good, she said. We do work clothes. A knock. Donovan opened the door. You have a visitor. Lily stepped in. Ponytail fast eyes frank. She held the paper crown she had loaned Alara and the frog drawing stamped approved. We brought the story, she announced. Alara crouched to Lily's height. What does the frog say? He says splash, Lily replied solemn. But the splash means quiet. Accurate, Alara said, then looked up at Graham. We'll fund the quiet. Lily leaned toward her dad and stage whispered, Dad, she listens now. Graham breathed once, then looked at the contract. Terms are clear, he said. I keep 2 conditions. He raised 2 fingers. 1. The class stays first. 2. I keep the right to block anything unethical, even if it hurts a launch. Agreed, Alara said immediately. Put it in ink. Ruth added the language while Nadia adjusted the schedule. Donovan placed a pen on the signature line with the same care he uses for glassware. Graham signed. Alara countersigned. Nadia and Donovan witnessed. The ink didn't feel like ceremony. It felt like tools being put away correctly at the end of a shift. Welcome, Alara said. I'm not your story, he answered. You're our standard, she said. Training began that afternoon with a pilot group from sales and support. 10 slides, no clip art. Graham wrote on the board, straight lines are for roads. Curves are for people. Machines translate. People make meaning. He gave them 1 line to carry through 3 rooms, a boardroom, a waiting room, a kitchen, and asked them to move the respect when words couldn't hold it. Laughter happened, but it loosened instead of reducing. A rep asked, What do I do when a customer wants the machine to speak like a person? Be honest, Graham said. Offer accuracy. Promise help. Never pretend your tool wears a heart, a support lead asked. And when they're angry, bow with timing, he said. Let the pause do the apology, your script can't. Nadia's notes looked like policy already. We'll make this training mandatory, she told Alara. Mandatory without resentment is an art. We'll earn it with snacks and backfills. Snacks are strategy. Alara said, stealing Maya's line and meaning it. By evening, the investors toured the half-built lab fewer screens than chairs, a wall of rubrics, a shelf of paper dictionaries, a sign-in sheet that included pronouns and pronunciation. Kenji ran a thumb along a battered Larousse. Bring paper, he murmured, pleased. Sato stood at the window. You built a place to stand still, he said. That is rare in rooms with this much money. We built a place to be specific, Alara replied. Specific is how respect survives, Scale, Sato said. They reconvened where contracts become calendars. Marla updated the dashboard, no confetti, just slope. Pilot on pace, she said. Delta posts stay 2 lines. Failures first. Donovan handed Alara a clipped stack Lily's note, the code, the SOP, and the transparency receipts. Front desk binder updated, he said. We show people what kind of work we do. Graham gathered his folder. Lily yawned without apology and offered the crown. You can keep it, she decreed. Bring it back with a story. I owe you many stories, Alara said. We'll start with a lab that listens. In the hallway, she matched Graham's pace. Thank you, she said. Not for saying yes, for making us worth saying yes to. Keep the curves visible, he replied. People forget them when the road looks straight. We'll paint them on the floor, she said. No one will miss them. He glanced at the signed contract, then at the classroom schedule, pinned to cork. Good, he said. The guardrails are funded. The windows are open, and the work is wearing the right clothes. 3 months later, the Civic Center library sounded like Hope with Manners. On the whiteboard, the sentence had become a banner, Machines translate. People make meaning. Graham adjusted the marker tray and let the room find its seats. The listening lab now shipped receipts, not announcements, 2-line deltas every Friday at 5. Alara arrived with a stack of certificates on good paper, each with a name written slowly enough to be respected. Lily skipped beside her ponytail, quick clipboard in hand. Her new title, Assistant of Snacks and Policy Stickers, didn't need a crown. Graduation, Maya whispered, touching her lanyard like it finally fit. Half want to volunteer next round. That's how you know a room worked, Graham said. It makes people want to hold the door. He opened with a ritual one-line, read 3 ways, words, then tone, then timing. A grandfather from Eritrea moved respect to the pause until the sentence sat like a chair. 2 teenagers turned a brusque apology into a real one by letting silence finish the work. Elira presented certificates without rushing. She placed each one the way a server sets a plate they respect. "Thank you for your patience," she said. "For your courage. For teaching us what our products must never forget." People stayed. A nurse showed Graham shorthand for talking fear into smaller circles. He wrote it into the SOP. A cook who had been sure she had no voice translated weather into mood for a shy boy, and his grin made months worth it. Across the street, Echo wore new bones, the context and intent pack up front like a seatbelt. Human in the loop, showing its colors honestly. Stop authority like a promise that remembered names. The model had not learned love. It had learned humility. The room thinned to friends. Elira set the leftovers on a table and walked to the window where the courtyard held its square of sky. Graham stood there with Lily watching 2 kids negotiate the last dragon marker. "You owe me a story," Lily said, lifting her chin. "The crown story." Elira smiled. "Once there was a room that thought it needed a stage," she said. It learned to be a classroom instead. The crown retired to a shelf and became proof people were being heard. "Approved," Lily declared. When Lily ran to help Maya with cups, the quiet left behind felt like a bench you don't share with hurry. Elira kept her eyes on the courtyard. "There's something I haven't asked," she said. "Every time I try, it sounds like a headline." "Ask it without the drum," Graham said. "You told me 8 languages," she said. "You never named the 9th." He let the smile happen. "Love," he said. "The one no AI will ever speak fluently." Elira looked at her hands and found them unafraid. "How does it conjugate?" she asked. "In present tense, or it isn't love," he said. "Past tense is for stories. Future tense is for plans. Love has to show up on time. Warmth rose that didn't ask to be explained. I'm learning its grammar," she said. "Slow classroom. Good teacher. Same textbook," he said. "Move respect if words can't carry it. Let silence finish the work." A volunteer pinned the final photo, a grid of faces no one centered. The banner gained a small flourish machines translate. People make meaning. People, not platforms. Donovan leaned in with the leisurely pride of a manager who prefers systems to speeches. "Front desk has a new habit," he said. "When guests ask what kind of work we do, we show the binder. Sometimes they read the receipts before they check in. Hospitality is a language," Graham said. "Only one I speak," Donovan replied, tipping an invisible hat to Lily as she passed with a tub of markers and a kingdom's authority. Sato arrived at the end, the way a good witness does. "Phase 2 is approved," he said, offering a slender folder. "You didn't buy this with performance. You earned it with logs." Elira took it without flourish. "We'll keep showing our cracks first. Teach small poems to big rooms," Hiroshi added, appearing with Kenji. "They make the voices quiet." Kenji looked at Graham. "How fares the standard humans are in the loop," Graham said. "The loop is in the world." They shook hands without ceremony. Night softened the glass. Volunteers stacked chairs in a way that would forgive the morning. Elira lifted her bag. Lily offered the paper crown again. "You can keep it," she said. "Bring it back with a bigger story." "I'll bring it back with a lab that hires more neighbors," Elira said. "And with a model that knows when to wait for a person." "Double approved," Lily declared, and skipped away. By the door, Elira paused. "I used to think leadership was a voice," she said. "Now it feels like a room you keep warm." Graham held the door. "Rooms are verbs," he said. "They only work when someone does them." Outside the courtyard lit small miracles, a child balancing on a border stone, a grandmother practicing a phrase that will make a clerk kinder, Two young men trading recipes in a language both love but neither owns. Ilara slipped the crown into her bag. "See you Monday," she said. "Monday," Graham answered, then softer, "and Sunday at the park, if your future tense wants practice." She smiled. "Present tense," she said. "Bring haiku." He laughed, a quiet sound people learn to trust. "I'll bring the 9th language," he said. On the bulletin board, a new sheet listed next month's classes funded in the open taught by neighbors, proof that small rooms can send light a long way. They walked toward the gate not as a parade and not as a secret. Just two people who had decided to keep a room warm. Behind them, the whiteboard waited for the next lesson, and beyond that a city with enough windows for meaning to find its way through. If this story found you tonight, maybe it's because you already know the quiet truth it carries. Machines translate, but people make meaning. Respect can live in a word, but it often lives in a pause. Straight lines are for roads. Curves are for people. Before you go, I want to hear your story. Have you ever seen a moment change because someone truly listened at work, at a hospital, at a counter on a bus? Did a small act of dignity, moving respect from the words into the timing, turn a hard day into a human one? Are you a single parent, a frontline worker, a quiet bridge between languages or cultures? Share it in the comments. Tell us what happened, who was brave, and what it taught you. And tell us where you're watching from, your city, your country, your corner of the world. I read these. Our whole community learns from them. If this film gave you hope, pass it forward. Hit like so the platform knows to show this to more people who need it. Subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss the next story. We publish receipts, not adjectives, and every episode tries to put meaning before metrics. Share this with one friend who keeps rooms warm but rarely gets credit. And if you want to be part of the change, start small and specific. Listen first. Move respect where words can't carry it. Let silence finish what love begins. That's the 9th language, the one no AI will ever speak fluently, but we can. Thank you for spending your time, your attention, and your heart with us today. I'm grateful you're here. Until the next story, keep the curves visible, keep the door open, and keep the room warm.